A lot of stuff about words in these texts. That's why we're focusing on words today. James says that faith without words is dead, but he also talks about the kind of words as a sort of action. So, because my words aren't always the best words, I'm relying on many experts in using words for our message today. Here are some bulletin bloopers, first of all. Show you that words are important. Due to unexpected circumcisions, the fellowship hall will be closed. The Little Mothers Circle will meet next week. If you'd like to become a little mother, meet the pastor in his office. This could just be the sermon, right? Sunday sermon, what is hell like? Come hear our choir sing. Here are some, not as funny, but just demonstrate how words can create confusion. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like bananas. How about this one? The dress became his wife. You had to think about that for a minute. How often do we use that word, became, in that way? I can't eat too many cookies. Or I can't eat too many cookies. Same sentence. Every hour with them was a happy hour. And finally, Mark Twain. Better to keep your mouth closed and let people think you are a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. Words are important. Our ancient story of creation reminds us that God created with a word. We are created in God's image, designed to be creators. When we use words, we create realities. And you know, we live in a verbose culture, right? Advertising, opinions, arguments, blogs, posts, exaggerated political campaigns, exploitative talk shows, hate radio, spin doctors. Apparently, it's perfectly appropriate to outright lie and say it's the truth. I'm not sure that some people even think about what they're going to say before they say it, and I'm one of them. Ask Dan. James uses some powerful analogies of the power of the tongue. A match in a dry forest, a rudder on a ship, a bit in the mouth of a horse. The indicting reality that sweet and salt water can't come from the same source, nor can one tree produce two kinds of fruits. Although, I think they do produce apples now, off two different kinds of apples off one tree. Anybody know this? Yeah. Just shows you how the Bible is cultural. In these few minutes, I hope we can think about the way we speak. Jesus was a master at using questions to complicate the narrative of his day. In his ministry, we have recorded 307 questions. Of the 103 questions Jesus is asked, he only answers 3 of them. In our story today, he asks the disciples first, "Who do people say that I am?" And they have some answers for him, presumably more than what's written there. It maybe was a long conversation about, I wonder why they think I'm this person or that person. And then finally, he asked them, "Who do you say that I am. I think the invitation here is to answer our own questions in the context of a conversation. Would Einstein have been confronted about being a great man or a good man without Lazurals? How'd I do? Lazurl. Those German words. Without her questioning, without her comments to him. Perhaps we need to cultivate curiosity, make questions at least as important in our relationships as comments or statements. I wonder how they'll settle their differences. Curious to see the play. The Buddhists have an eightfold path to enlightenment, which includes the third step, and it's all about speech, right speech, or speaking truth. Here are a few of the points they make. Right speech is speech that reflects our inner selves clearly. Speak the truth. Tell no lies. If you're called to say what you know, but you don't want to say what you know, say, I know. And if you don't know, simply say, I don't know. Let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Use words to help, not harm. The Bambi movie picked this up when Thumper said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Have you tried listening to yourself? How do you sound? Are you tentative, angry, confused, rattled, tense, manipulative, disparaging, demeaning? Or are you respectful, kind, thoughtful, loving, encouraging, curious in your conversation? The Buddhists say, speak kindly. Never speak when you are angry. The Buddhists use the analogy of the tongue as a peaceful lake, able to transcend anger. Even if people throw sparks in it, it doesn't explode because it's water and not volatile. The Buddhists also say no gossip or telling tales. Talk to, not about. Gossip is like feeding junk food to the ego. And Bertrand Russell reminds us, nobody gossips about a person's secret virtues. The Buddhists recommend using a mantra or a prayer to speak lovingly. A mantra nourishes the throat chakra where speech originates. So they have a very simple mantra. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. You could say that about yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. May the world be happy. May the world be healthy. May the world be safe. May the world live with ease. You can make up your own mantra to practice saying kind things. Listening is the other side of right speech. Listen first, we got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen for understanding and then to respond. The Buddhists recommend practicing a noble silence. That is, silence just for the sake of being quiet. How many times during the day don't we have a moment, but we've got the radio, we've got our devices are all working, we've got noise. What if we just tried to be in stillness for a few minutes each day? Have you ever tried eating in silence with your partner? Wouldn't it be interesting to see what comes up when you do that? According to an article entitled The Neuroscience of Words by Dr. Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman, there are reasons to use positive words from a neuroscience perspective. They say in their studies, negative words release stress and anxiety-inducing hormones. In children, higher rates of negative self-talk are associated with increased levels of anxiety. A single word, they say, has the power to influence the expression of genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. And by holding a positive and optimistic word in your mind, you stimulate frontal lobe activity. This area includes specific language centers that connect directly to the motor cortex, responsible for moving you into action. Their research has shown the longer you concentrate on positive words, the more you begin to affect other areas of your brain. Finally, they suggest that holding a positive view of ourselves helps train our brain to see the good in others. By exercising consistent positive thoughts and speech, we not only change our self-perception, but also how we perceive the world around us. Ultimately, this grants us the ability to shape our reality and change the world for the better. What positive words can you use to think about yourself? Fred Craddock, some of you may know his name, a Disciples of Christ ordained minister, Chandler School of Theology, Emory University, founder of the Craddock Center nonprofit service group in rural Appalachia. He tells of the time he attended a conference on hunger. There were influential, knowledgeable speakers. They had been brought in from all over the world to talk on the subject. Near the end of the conference, Fred says, a young, willowy woman got up to speak. She had long, straight hair that fell down her back. She was dignified and unassuming. She carried a legal pad to the podium and began reading. At first, Craddock says he couldn't follow what she was saying. Eventually, it dawned on him, as it did on all the other listeners, she was reading the same sentence in many different languages. At the very end, she spoke the sentence in English. All the time, she was saying, "Mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy, I'm hungry." Craddock says she was the most powerful speaker of the entire conference. The quote that's on the at the beginning of your program is from a Black community organizer, Sendolo Diamina. He talks about being at the end of an empire and how empires end matters. He quotes a woman, Angela Gibson, who says, we have to stop thinking me and start thinking we. We will be remembered for how we finish up here. The we, he says, includes creation. So one last story. When we were in Traverse City, we had a piece of property to use for our purposes as a church, and we asked the local community what was needed. The overwhelming response was, we need housing. So we partnered with Habitat for Humanity to build houses. We also became keenly aware of the indigenous presence in that area and how the land had been stolen from them. So we invited the land listeners, 2 women from the Anishinaabe tribe, to walk the land and listen for us. To ask the land if this endeavor of building houses pleased the land. If I remember right, it was a cold, bitter winter day. We set up a place for waiting. There was sage and a small fire pit, some beautiful items that would have been on the land had it not been corn for 25 years. The 2 women, about 20 yards apart, began to walk the perimeter of the 20 acres, and we waited. After they got back to where we were, they consulted together for a minute, and then they came to us at this beautiful space they had prepared. They conveyed to us that the land was blessed, that we were going to build houses there. The spirit of the land was joyful, that one day people would live there. Gardens would grow there, children would play there, community would be nurtured there. There was only corn on the land, except for around the perimeter were trees, and there was a stately maple tree. They called her the mother tree. They invited us to continue to listen to the trees for their affirmation. I said, "How do you listen to trees?" They said, "Go, be with the trees. Lean against the trees. Sit under the trees. On rainy days, on windy days, on snowy days, on sunny days, listen. And pretty soon, the trees will talk to you." Maybe we need to broaden our conversations to include creation. St. Francis of Assisi said, "Preach the good news, and if you have to, use words." James says something similar. Faith without works is dead. I think the invitation this morning and the ongoing invitation is to become better conversation partners, to use positive words, to speak truth, to listen for understanding, to carefully communicate what we need to. Ultimately, we can actually make the world a better place. Amen? Amen. Amen.